Do any of you have any idea how absolutely terrifying the Komodo dragon is? They don't just kill their prey. They bite them, but then they let the venom in their saliva do the work. They just follow their lunch around for a while until it gets wobbly and collapses, and then they make their motzi. I learned that last night at the Indonesian consulate. Not the making motzi part. I made that up. They don't make motzi. They do birkat. My name isn't name. No. I was at the consulate to speak as the representative of Judaism and the Jewish people for an interfaith panel as part of an effort to help build bridges and foster relationships. It seemed both terribly timed for such an event and also well-timed at the same time. With Rosh Hashana, we enter a period that speaks to the universal needs of all that lives on this planet, and it aspires to reconciliation and renewed connections with our Maker, with our friends and family, and with our highest version of ourselves. Perhaps at no point in my life has the idea of reconciliation seemed so ridiculous. We live in an age of deep division, seemingly intractable politics, eroding faith in institutions of government and religion, and the total collapse of other such institutions. You are here, I know, I hope, to be inspired, to seek healing, and to connect with something larger than yourself, not for me to remind you of all the challenges we face. I am too. On this birthday of the world, where we review our lives and renew our commitment to the restoration of our souls, we have to first take the measure of the situation. We repair ourselves so that we can return to the task of serving God, Torah, and humanity. A music video recently went viral in Israel where two veterans of the Israeli Armed Forces who sit on opposite sides of the table, figuratively sit on opposite sides of the table literally, and confront the other with words set to a hip-hop beat. Happy birthday to hip-hop as well. 50 years, not 5,784, but who's counting? And they each begin their verses with the phrase, I don't hate you. I don't hate you. It's wrong to hate. I don't hate you. But actually, I kind of do. And they launch into their grievances, each taking a turn before a memorial siren sounds. And they stand silently, shoulder to shoulder, in grief and in contemplation. And then, after a moment, they embrace. It is, like our religious exercises this time of year, an aspirational work. If only it were that easy. But the truth of it remains. We must find a way to collaborate, to coexist, or we risk it all. The best thing we can do to help fix this problem is to start here, with ourselves. Let it grow outward. It's a bumper sticker slogan. I recognize that, but it is no less true. The best thing we can do is try to be the change we want to see surround us. Be the change you want to see in the world. It's really cute. It's harder to pull it off. The bumper sticker doesn't indicate how hard it is to do that, to be that change. And it can be very, very hard to change. That is also why we need friends and community to encourage and support us, and even to set us back on the right path when we stray. So in a world that seems designed to prevent us from doing so as a matter of profit, to keep us siloed and separate, how do we find a way to even think about interacting with others with whom we may have deep and serious differences? The Hebrew Scriptures describe a creator, as we celebrate creation this day, forming the first of us from the very soil of the earth and placing within these fragile bodies some divine breath. And in doing so, those first beings, like all of their descendants, all of us here, we are linked both to the material that surrounds us and to that which transcends physical limitations or constraints. It is those connections, those dual loyalties, both to physical and spiritual being, that define at the basic level what it is we are. Creatures bound by physical limitations, time-bound and subject to all sorts of accidents and misadventures, yet capable of remarkable feats of genius and a form of collective immortality. Jewish tradition teaches that we all descend from that first man and woman, Adam and Hawa, so that no human being can claim a greater ancestry than any other. When it comes down to it, we are all literally the children of the first humanity. And as such, we are subject to the same observation made by the Creator when that first single person was made. It is not good for us to be alone. While this is certainly true in a biological sense, at least as of tonight, without some form of partnership, you can't make more babies. But there are other reasons why we require other people in our lives, not simply for material needs, such as agriculture and basic civic construction, creating joint defense, sustenance, and protection, and procreation, but also for our spiritual health. Because while we can answer the question of what we are as human beings, there remain other questions. Chief among them, why? It has been suggested that in the absence of a definite answer, we can operate under the cause of to know our Creator. We are here to witness what our Creator has done. We are the audience for this remarkable feat of existence, as well as being part of the grand design. And to the Jewish way of thought, we have a role in finishing that work. And as we are seen as creatures made in the image and likeness of that Creator, perhaps the best way to know God is to know ourselves. How then? How do we best learn who we are so that we can best fulfill what it is we are meant to be? We can take instruction here from another pair of ancestors. Whereas our humanity descends from Adam and Eve, our tribal identity, our religious identity, and for some of us even our ethnic identity, comes from Avraham Avinu and his children through Sarah or Hagar. Avraham Avinu and Sarah Imenu bequeathed us a spiritual tradition that first knew concrete form in the Hebrew prophets before it gave rise, of course, to Christianity, Islam, Druze, Baha'i, and too many offshoots to mention. I think the first test of all Abrahamic faiths, us being the OG of that, the original generation of Abrahamic faiths, is that we start throwing people out. We start demanding that everybody believe and behave and practice exactly as the most powerful and most popular members of our tradition behave and believe. If you've ever been to a Jewish wedding, we stand under a little canopy. It's the chuppah, of course. It's representative of the home, the tent that the couple is going to live in. And it is open on all four sides because why? Because Abraham and Sarah's tent was open on all four sides at all times for anyone who needed to come for shelter, for help, or for companionship. No matter who they were, no matter where they came from. Their hospitality and generosity is a central part of who they were and who we are called to be. This is not to say that Abraham and Sarah did not have their own opinion. In fact, the reason Avraham Avinu is he was the one strong enough to stand against what he knew to be false and to physically risk everything he had and knew to pursue what he knew to be truth, what he knew to be the right thing to do. He insisted on serving the one true God. And if we are to be true heirs to them and all of the prophets, peace be upon them, how can we avoid the sacred task of discovering our truth? What possible reason do we have to avoid interacting with others, even those with whom we have differences? This question was addressed by a great Jewish sage in the 16th century in a book called the Be'er HaGolah, the Well of Redemption, written by the Maharal of Prague, Rabbi Judah Lo ben Betzalel, who is famous for, among other things, the legend of the Golem, which I will talk about tomorrow, so you come back for that. But tonight, I'm not talking about the Golem. Tonight, we're going to talk about a different aspect of Rabbi Judah Lo's teachings. And he answers that question. How do we have a conversation with someone that we may not want to have a conversation with them. We may not like what they believe. We may not want to hear what they believe. It is proper, he teaches, out of love and reason, pardon me, important misstatement. It is proper out of love of reason and knowledge that you do not summarily reject anything that opposes your own idea, especially so if your adversary does not intend merely to provoke you. Do not feed the trolls, he is saying. That's an exception. Do not feed the golems, do not feed the trolls. But if they do not intend merely to provoke you, but rather to declare his beliefs, and even if such beliefs are opposed to your own faith and religion, do not say to them, "Speak not and keep your words," because if so, there will be no clarification of religion or philosophy. Just the opposite. Tell this person to speak their mind and all that they want to say, so that they will not be able to claim that you silenced them. Anyone who prevents another from speaking only reveals the weakness of their own religion, and not, as many think, that by avoiding discussion about religion or philosophy, you strengthen it. This is not so. Rather, the denial of the right to speak of one who opposes your religion is the negation and weakening of that religion. For the proper way to attain truth is to hear others' arguments, which they hold sincerely, not out of a desire to provoke you. Thus it is wrong to simply reject an opponent's ideas. Instead, draw them close to you and delve into their words. In a more contemporary sense, the 20th century philosopher Martin Buber's work is best known by his philosophy of dialogue, in which we are defined by our relationships, calling upon us to have an I-thou relationship, our I-thou approach. Thou is a fancy way of saying you, rather than I-it. Only by approaching the other, be it a person, nature, or God, as a partner in dialogue, can we fully embrace our own existence. In order to be who we are capable of being, in order to truly exist in any meaningful way, we must embrace the opportunity to do so in relation to an other. Some of those others, to quote the Buddhist tradition, can be very difficult teachers. Let us try not to be those either. And so it is with gratitude. I join you others this evening. I join all of thous. I don't know how you say y'all in thou language. Thou all. Blessing this world and praying that we have a year of peace, healing, and prosperity. Shana Tova Umetuka. We engage now in some dialogue with our Creator